you're already wasting time trying to perfect those things. I get it. A strong presentation, you want to come in, like go big or go home. But what happens is sometimes you have to at least just get the momentum going.
You gotta sacrifice. You wanna move like bosses move.
YMA, Young Millionaires Association. Yeah, see, that's the association.
All right, guys, welcome to the YMA Nation podcast, episode number 77. Drum roll. We are at episode number 77, and I have a special guest on today. Before we get into that, guys, if you're on, take a moment, make sure you hit that thumbs up, that like button, make sure that you subscribe. Please subscribe to the YMA Nation channel. And down in the comment section, go ahead and hashtag YMA Nation. Make sure that you leave us some feedback, any questions. Please be engaged throughout this conversation. So we are going to get started. We have Miss Shanika Torres. How are you doing? Look, she's ready. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's been a great day, long day, but as is the life of entrepreneurship, you just, some days are long, some days are longer. Right. Always long.
Well, it is an honor to have you on, and I'm just going to give everyone a quick background about you. You are a licensed professional counselor, behavior analyst, author. You just wow! Like, how many caps can you have?
Listen, I didn't want to give you. I didn't want to give you too much, because then if I'm like, okay, I'm a mother, I'm a entrepreneur, all these different titles. I don't want to give you too much, Right. But that's a good start.
But we'll have the opportunity to talk about that throughout the show, because I'm interested, and I'm sure the viewers want to hear the story. Like, wow, young lady, and she's a licensed professional counselor. She's an author, a behavior analyst. Like, let's hear her story. So, episode number 77, and this is Finding Your Purpose before starting the journey. So, before starting that journey, you have your vision, your goals, your dreams, but before you take that step, you have to understand your purpose, and she's going to help us to help you guys. And I love to learn too, right? So I'm sure as a professional, like, I could gain some insight from you. So just tell her, like, introduce yourself. Tell us about your background.
Yeah. So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been a therapist about 7 years. And I always like to tell people I am a counselor, like, professionally, but I feel like I was a counselor way before I ever actually went to school to become one. I'm the middle child of 7 kids. And so I was often the mediator. I didn't, right. People think middle child has like that watch me show my age, the Jane Brady syndrome, where it's like, Marsha. I didn't have any envy of older siblings or anything like that. I was genuinely just the middle person that always observed. And even now, as an adult, I always observe. And that's how you and I, Joe, got even familiar and acquainted with one another. Like, I observed you as you were building your business, and I was like taking notes, like, okay, this is how this works. Because I had never seen anybody in my family being entrepreneurs, at least not in the legit sense. And so I always listen, I had to come to terms with, like, where my hustle comes from. My dad is at 66 years old, still in and out of jail doing drugs. And wow. him doing drugs means he's always having to get that need met, to get the next, whatever product or drug or whatnot. And so at first I used to be embarrassed about it. I was like, no, my dad was a hustler. Like, I mean, he's been homeless, but yet some way, shape, or form, like, this man always gets his needs met. It's because he hustles. And I didn't realize that spirit within me to hustle, that was also passed down. But too many times we look at, like, the negative things about somebody's, hustle, so to speak, because it's like, oh, well, that's not legit. I believe that when you have, well, there's science to it too. Like, so basically they say, like, people that have that entrepreneurial spirit, let's say you have kids, your kids are more inclined to be entrepreneurial, more risk takers, that sort of thing. And so even though my dad decided to go the anti-social route, I went the pro-social route. I knew that I didn't mind working for other people, but there was always something within me that wanted to work for myself. I didn't know where that came from until I was older. Now I understand it. It's that drive to hustle, to do better, to do more, to get what's the next best thing, and never satisfied with where I'm at, because there's always something else, that value of growing. And so that kind of segues into like finding your purpose. I found my purpose on the back end, but we'll talk a little bit about the purpose, you know, how to get to find your purpose. Because truthfully, I literally just identified it for myself recently, but I realized I was always more or less moving in that direction. I just didn't have a name for it.
That's interesting how you say that too, because you hear a lot of people, whether it's in like the music or as a author in a book, you hear like they say their surroundings help create the person that they are. You know, so even if you're in a, like people say that they came out of poverty, but it forced them to work twice as hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because of the surrounding, they seen people out there hustling, working hard, whether it's the right way or the wrong way, but they gained the positive attribute from it and then put it into like they implement it into like their lives to help them in a positive way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So as a licensed professional counselor and behavior analyst, how do you take that and say, okay, from what I do on a day-to-day basis, how do I take that information and help cultivate someone to finding their purpose?
Yeah, so interesting enough, you know, you go to school and they teach you all these theories and then you apply them, but you don't always know the why. You just know, oh, I learned this, they taught me this, and I'm just going to teach my clients, so on and so forth. One particular activity that I've started integrating into my practice is finding your purpose in 5 minutes. Now, I don't want to take credit for this. It was actually based on a TED Talk that I saw about a year ago. I don't remember how long it's been out, and I wish I had the name for it. Maybe I can give the link, but essentially it was finding your purpose in 5 minutes. And so I would often, anytime I had clients that were having a really hard time navigating their life, I don't know, like feeling stuck. I don't know where I'm going, what I have to do. I'm like, well, what's your purpose? And people that look of like, oh my gosh, that's a big question. It's a simple question, but it's a big question. Right. So I'm going to allow your viewers to find their purpose in 5 minutes, and I'll use my example as a way to help kind of navigate that. So the 5 different things that you do to find your purpose. The first one is, who are you? So when you say, who are you? Let me ask you this. Maybe this might be an opportunity for you and I to go back and forth. So if you were my client and I was helping you find your purpose, I would ask, who are you? What's your response?
Well, I'll start off with my name. I am Joe Wallace, business mogul, entrepreneur. So we're gonna we're gonna stop there. You know why? Because so many people start off by identifying what they do for a living as, who are you? Well, I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a mother. I'm a father. The fact that you said your first and last name is so telling. That tells me that you have a strong sense of self. So often people are even uncomfortable to say their first and last name. But when I say, when someone asks who are you, there should be a certain pride, a sense of confidence. I'm Shanika Torres, and I'll tell you how Shanika Torres even came about, because I went by Nikki for the longest time. And even that has a lot to do with me being confident and finding my purpose and things like that. So the fact that you said Joseph Wallace, boom, that's it. Joseph Wallace, that's who you are. The next thing, what do you love to do? Not that something you like to do. What do you love to do? I love helping people. I love to give back, and I love to see people become successful, especially if I'm contributing to that.
Love helping people, love giving back, and love helping people become successful, especially if you're contributing to that. Beautiful, right. Love it. The helping people one, sometimes we say things that are on the surface, but you started going deeper. The more you, like you said, I love helping people, and then you kind of like dug deeper with that. And that's beautiful, because sometimes people just stay on the surface. Well, I like helping people, or, well, I like cooking. Okay, cooking what? Cooking food that warms the heart? I mean, dig deeper. So building from that, who do you do it for? And I want you to expand from there. Not just, go ahead.
I feel like I'm on like a couch Like, you know how you see on TV,
Your
and
feet
you
are
sit
up.
back on the couch, and the counselor like, so tell me, how do you feel today? Well, you know,
Listen, if you're on the couch, I'm
this
probably
is
speaking.
good though. This is good. I never had this type of conversation. So, what's the next question?
Yeah. So the next question is, I'm glad you're getting the benefit from it. So yeah, so who do you do it for?
I do it for that Holy Spirit because I feel like my purpose is guided by that holy light. So my actions, I feel, are guided by not self. I feel like if I'm doing something, I always look at the intent behind it, and my intent is always to like please that Holy Spirit.
I love that response. I'm gonna ask you to expand that a little bit more. So when you think about what it is that you love to do, right? Who do you envision? Even so, the highest power is essentially what guides everything that you do. That's who you do it for the glory of God. But as far as like, if you think about what do you do and that you love, right? And then who do you do it for? Like, who's your population? You're gonna know if your population is a 2-year-old, preschool age kids. You're gonna know if if you do it for young entrepreneurs who are trying to find their way. You're gonna know who. So when I ask you, who do you do it for? Like, what comes to mind? Like, what is like, oh my gosh, like for me, I know like young professional, specifically women, young professional women. Oh my gosh, tell me that you're lost. Let me help you. Let me give you under my wing and let me help you find you. So that's when I think. So when you think of your population, like, who do you do it for?
So I feel I have 2 segments of my purpose. One segment is entrepreneurs and people that are dreaming to be, successful financially in a good place to take care of their families and themselves, where they're not struggling. So that's one group of people, and I would say the age group between that demographic would be between 18 to 27. That's the majority.
That's a good age. That's a good
18 to
age.
27. Yeah, cause I feel that that's the age where most people have the most, like, their visions. They're young, and they say, I still feel like I can achieve this, and I still feel like I could chase this dream. Once people get into like their 30s, then they start to give up, or they start to get comfortable in wherever they're at. Like, you know what? I'm halfway through my life. Let me just stay at this job. I've been at this job. I'll stay here another 10 to 15 years, or this is paying my bills right now. So I'll figure it out when I get to 60, and hopefully I don't have to work. And if I do, then I'll just figure it out. But
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I want to give people hope. Like, it doesn't mean that you're stuck. It just means that it really is a lot harder, because most of the time people kind of feel like, well, my life is already gone. Until the day you take your last breath, your life, you have the opportunity to change your life, to transform your life. And that word change your life is actually pretty profound. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, because that has to do with my purpose. So what do these people want or need? So basically, in thinking about what do you do that you love? Who do you do it for? What do these people want or need from you? What do you provide that they can't get it from markets down the street?
Well, guidance.
Okay. Markets down the street gives guidance. What do you specifically give? What do you offer that they should come to you to get this need met?
Oh, see, now I feel like I'm talking to like.
Listen, you on the couch.
This is the average thing where someone says like, well, what did you offer that I can't find online? Right. And what I offer is the guidance, not just like what people do online and try to sell you a program or a dream. And I just had a post today on that, right? Of like, people say, oh, I could fix your credit in 60 days, right? But the reality of that, right? So yeah, I would never sell someone a dream. And when someone comes to our company, like my employees, I try to look for, when I do an interview with someone, I try to look for that person who cares, so I ask certain questions to kind of get into like their mindset. I want that person that truly cares about, so when they are hired and they have clients, like they care about those clients. Because if you go online and pull up the master's credit, we like 5 stars out of 5 stars. Why? Because we care. your goals and your vision becomes ours. So that's what separates us. It's not like you just call in and whoever picks up the phone. Like you are assigned your own rep that handles your file from the beginning to the end. So, and that's like something that's big, especially in this industry, by having someone that you could always connect with that knows you, knows your file. And as a business owner, it impacts my bottom line because now I lose, right?
Yep.
Because now I have to the time it takes for like that person to be able to manage X amount of clients. It shortens because now they spend more time on the files, they spend more time on the phones. But I rather it goes back to my purpose and my focus on a dollar or my focus on what that holy light want me to do.
Yep. Outside of yourself. And so what I'm hearing is, what do these people want or need? That they're looking for sincerity, genuine care for what it is that they're going through. And people express that genuineness, like you are unique. How I express my care and compassion for someone is going to be different than how you express your care and compassion for someone. So essentially you offering something, they're going to you for that experience. And essentially anybody that you get underneath you is hopefully like mini yous. And you wouldn't hire anybody that wasn't a reflection of that, right? Because the people that you the people that work for you are a reflection of you when you're in your absence. So that's what I'm learning too, as I'm in the course of expanding my business. So
I started off checking it every other week, just like most people do. Then it got out of control. I couldn't help myself. I started checking it day after day after day. I didn't realize that I was becoming addicted until my wife said something.
What did she say?
She said, "It's just a credit score, relax."
Are you checking your credit score?
Huh? Hold on.
5, again, finding your purpose. How do they change as a result of what you give them?
That's a good question. I like to tell my employees that sometimes you have to force people into their greatness. Because it's hard to like someone who doesn't understand or just haven't went to school or have no background in management to come to you and say, I have a dream. I see Joe online and I would love to be that next millionaire, or I would love to run that next successful company. But taking someone that works 9 to 5 inside of a plant and that's all they do is use a machine, and it's everything is like repeat. These things come, I put it on, it goes to the next one. It comes down the line. What is that called? The conveyor belt. Come to me, the conveyor belt, and like they just stand there for 8 hours and do the same thing over and over, taking that person and putting them into a space and a new mindset to say, now I understand finances. Now I understand what a profit margin is. I understand what gross, net. I know how to do a balance sheet. I understand a business plan. I've learned about marketing. I've learned about communication. Like all of these facets of business that they gain, that knowledge. Sometimes you have to force people into like their greatness, because people will start on something, everyone dreams, but then when they realize how much work is involved, like, wow, I didn't know it was going to like be like this. I didn't know that these people, these customers are going to have complaints. How do I deal with this? This is frustrating, right? But being able to mold them into like, okay, this is how you handle this. And that's what I love about my job as a business consultant, is training these people to run a successful business that one day they could pass down to their children. So I want to make sure I answer your question though. What do they gain, especially from a credit perspective, is taking that young person between the age of 18 to 27 and they start the program and we say, hey, you have no credit. You need to get a credit card. And the average young person, when they get a credit card, they like, It's shopping time, right?
Listen, they go ham, salami, and bacon on that credit, not knowing they got to pay that back because more often than not, discipline, but more often than not, nobody's taught them the importance of it. And so even for my kids, you know, that's something that we talk about. We talk about, you know, opening up accounts. My 15-year-old just got her account open and had to get a card, and she didn't, within the end of the week, all her little funds was gone. And so we gotta restructure her a little bit. You gotta save a little something, you know. So this is all live and learn. But yeah, absolutely. Essentially, you are giving people. As you were talking, my mindset was like, you're not just giving them a fish, you're teaching them the fish. You know, so that essentially they can eat for a lifetime, understanding the importance of everything that they're doing. You're not just like, okay, I'm repairing your credit because this is just what I'm going to do. I'm going to help educate you along the way, because I know for a fact that's what you did with me, to help me understand, like, okay, so that card note that you're paying on, this is going to make you sick. And I remember very specifically, you were like, your interest rate is so high that pretty much you haven't even made a dent in principal. I'm like, what do you mean principal? Interest? What? Like, okay. and I had to learn, and I was sick when I realized I had been paying on my car for 3 years and really hadn't even touched the principal. So then I started becoming very diligent about that. I was like knocking it down as low as I could, which was in turn building, repairing while I was going through the credit repair program with you guys. And eventually, between my diligence of paying my debt down, getting my credit stuff, you know, cleaned up, I was able to refinance my loan. And when I refinanced, my interest rate was like 3.75, significantly different. And that's when I realized like the true value of credit. So again, that's essentially finding your purpose in 5 minutes. I'll do a brief overview of mine. So who are you, right? That it has a lot to do with who you are. If you don't know who you are, or if you're not even comfortable saying your name, then essentially you have some internal work to do. So again, as a behavior analyst, my second master's I have a primary master's in clinical mental health counseling, and then my second master's is in applied behavior analysis, which is essentially the study of human behavior. And the belief is that everything that we do has a consequence, positive or negative. And most of the things that have consequences were either reinforced by something positive or something negative. Positive reinforcement, something is added or we're rewarded with, and then negative reinforcement, something is removed. Oftentimes people respond more positively or more encouraged, or they're more motivated by positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement. If I know that paying off my debt is going to give me a lower interest rate, that's something that I'm going to essentially gain. I'm going to get a better credit score and a better interest rate as a return of the hard work that I'm doing. Versus if I don't get my credit in alignment, I'm going to get negative on my report. That might not be a deterrent, as strong of a deterrent for me as the benefits of, oh, I get to apply for more credit because they trust me. I get to have a better interest rate, which means that anything that I do to pay off is going to be paid off significantly faster. So for me, Shanika, I was actually in a restaurant with an older African-American gentleman. And Nikki is a name that I've gone by for the longest time because most people couldn't pronounce my name. They would say Shanika, whatever. Shamika. I have an aunt who always calls me Shamika. I don't even correct her. And so I remember he was like, oh, so is Nikki short for Nicole? And I said, no. And he's just like, well, what is it short for? I was like, oh, because that feeling of always having to explain or always having to correct, I was like, you know, conform, right? Something easy for people to remember. Most people like the fact that Nikki's easy to remember. Well, he says, when I told him my name was Shanika, he said, oh, that's beautiful. He said, that's unique. Why wouldn't you go by Shanika? I said, because people mispronounce it. It's just difficult. And he's like, oh, so you changed for people. And it just like hit me. Like, wait, come again? He said, so you changed for people. You changed to make people more comfortable. Just hearing those words that I changed to make other people more comfortable, it hit different. And he says to me, yeah, it may take people a couple of times, a few times to learn how to say Shanika. He said, but guess what? Once they learn it, they're not going to forget it. So the next time Shanika comes up in a conversation, you're going to be the first person that comes to mind. When you say Nikki, they're Nikki Taylor, Nikki Miller, Nikki Torres, you know, there's so many different Nikkis. When you say Shanika, that says something. And so ever since then, I just like, I leaned into it. And yeah, to this day, I still have to correct people. But before I used to be like, oh, that's okay. I don't say that anymore. I'm like, it's Shanika like Hanukkah. Or Shanika like Monica. I'll do things to help people remember it, but nevertheless, I correct them. And I don't say, oh, that's okay, because that's not. So again, who are you? My name is who I am. I don't mind Nikki, but when I announce myself as Shanika, I don't want you to be like, oh, is there something shorter? Unless I give you the opportunity. Oh, but you can call me Nikki. Because then it's on me versus me saying, oh, yeah, you can call me. Someone was like, oh, can I call you Shanna? No, you can't. That's not my name. That's not even a nickname that I know. So in finding my purpose, I didn't realize that I was more or less already moving in that direction. I just didn't have a name for it. So I had been doing this activity of finding your purpose with clients for about a good year. And I realized I never did it on myself. That's what happens. You get degrees and you learn how to do things, but you never really necessarily do things for yourself or on yourself.
Right.
So as I started learning, going through this activity, I knew the first one right off the bat. No trick questions here. Who are you? I'm Shanika Torres. Boom. What do you love to do? I'm like, oh, I love helping people, right? On the surface. I was like, no. I know I love helping people. Boom. I changed people's lives. It just hit me. And it was like, wait a second. This theme of changing people's lives has been there this whole time. And it's as early as I can remember, my brother was murdered back in 2016, and he was on the verge of changing his life. And I remember after trust me, it was like, it's never when you're like in the streets and in the struggle. It's always when you're like, he was like, man, he was, gang affiliated and got into a lot of things and was no saint by no means, but nevertheless, he was on the verge of changing his life. And I remember at one point he was like, yeah, because his wife was pregnant. She had just got found out.
Wow.
So this was like maybe June of 2016. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to get a job. My brother never worked. And so the fact that he was talking about getting a job, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I think I want to work in like a group home with like people that are thinking about joining gangs or something like that. Like, I just want to help them like know that that's not the route. He's like, but my felonies. I said, brother, who cares about your felonies? If people won't give you a job, you create your own job. Don't let somebody tell you what you can or can't do. Many people get so stuck in no one's going to hire me. Hire yourself. What do you love to do that you can see yourself working and pouring into that you're going to be able to make a living? And he was like,
you think he was trying to find his purpose?
He was trying to
find his purpose.
You know what? I think he was trying to find his purpose. And I think more or less it was starting to come all to fruition. I heard through the grapevine that he was like starting to reach out to people he hadn't talked to for years, kind of making peace with them. Maybe he knew. I think sometimes people like know that maybe their time is limited or whatnot, but that's what I heard. Like he was kind of like trying to make amends and what have you. And so that was like June when we had that conversation, July 1st, 2016. I got a call that, he was murdered. And I would just remember thinking like, man, wait a second. So he's not in ICU fighting for his life. He's just gone, like, boom. And it was just kind of like, obviously like it rocked my world, but like, I was like, man, he was on the verge of changing his life. And then I was in the shower. The shower has like some of my best thoughts are on long drives and showers. So I tell people, find your place of peace. And for me, the shower is that place. And I remember even, so I do my talk show, the Shanika Show, and the theme song is You Can Change Your Life. And I actually wrote the song in the shower and I hired somebody to sing it. And that's been my theme song. You Can Change Your Life. Are you ready? And I just remember like, I changed people's life and it just felt good. It felt natural. So who do I do it for? I do it for pretty much individuals who are looking for moments of maybe. That's what I essentially have identified. Like that maybe something might be different than what they have going on. And what do these people want or need from you? I think they want hope. I think when they hear my story, by that in and of itself, because I don't talk about what I've gone through too often, but every once in a while when I do share, people are like, oh my gosh, let me just go ahead and get my life together because man. And you don't realize how sometimes there's so much power in your story, but we don't think much of it because like, oh, well, I went through it, not a big deal, but realizing that not everybody has that drive to overcome. How do they change as a result of what you give them? I tell people I'm an optometrist. I help them see a different perspective. Right. And so when I learned that purpose, like on a Wednesday, I saw a client on a Monday and I was closing them out. And as they were giving me feedback about what they had learned in their time with me, the guy says to me, he says, Shanika, I just want to say like, you changed my life. I was like, man, you don't know what you just said right now. I just found my purpose. And you're using those exact words. You changed my life. I said, it hit different. And he says, no, sincerely, I'm the things that I'm about to do right now, I would have never done. I would have never even thought was possible because I worked with you and you've changed my life. And I thank you. And I've heard those exact same words. People can say, thank you for your help. They can say, it's been a great time. But when people say you've changed my life, I'm like, I'm walking into my purpose. I'm literally walking in my purpose. So, and helping individuals find that, I tell people, you have to find, it's optimal to find your purpose before you even start your journey. And too often we don't have mentors, we don't have family members or anybody pouring into us because so many people play it safe. They play it safe in their life. They play it safe in their jobs. You know, when I wanted to be an entrepreneur, my ex-husband was like, yeah, but what if you fail? But what if I succeed?
Right.
The opposite of failure is success. So I could focus on the failure, but what if I succeed? And he was like, but there's so many therapists. Yeah, but there's only one me. And I'm not saying that in a boastful way. It's really just what the experience that people are going to get with me is going to be different than what somebody else offers. Nothing wrong with that. It's just we do something completely different. So
that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you so if the viewer is seeing this and how you started off and you asked me questions and I answered them. And as a viewer, the viewer thinking or should be thinking, what can I gain by the responses that he gave to help me? And then she just walked through her life with her own Q&A. And what can I gain by hearing the questions and hearing how she responded? What can I gain from that and implement into my life as I'm going down my journey? And you said so much from the children. I mean, from the start of the show, you talk. About the kids, you talked about your work and all of these things that you do. If I'm that viewer on the opposite side and I just heard Joe Wallace and I just heard Shanika Torres, and now I want to say, okay, I'm excited, motivated, I'm ready. But this is a question that I get too. I don't know my purpose. I don't know my purpose. And I'm going to tell you what I tell people, right? My job is to provide you with a vehicle. So you can't say, hey, I want to travel, because I see people that travel, they live longer, they got experiences that last forever. I want to travel. Perfect. Guess what I could do? I can help you get there. But I need to know where you want to go, right? I can't create your destination. But once I know your destination, I can help you get there. So
your purpose is your compass.
We got an expert online. So that's how I explain it to them. And I give that to them and say, you come to me when you find what's that destination. I can't say, well, no, there's a lot of people right now making money in this type of industry, because I don't want you to chase something outside of your purpose, right?
Your purpose, I want to be very, very specific when it comes to purpose, right? Your purpose is your compass. If you don't know where you're going, you're lost. And that's why people will sign up for opportunities that are not in alignment with their purpose and be miserable. I had a pastor friend that told me something. My pastor friend said, when you are not walking in alignment with your purpose, your spirit becomes restless. And I didn't understand this until I started going to different jobs. And there would always be maybe about year 1.5, almost 2 years, where I would start becoming restless. Something just wasn't in alignment. And when I really thought about it, I'm like, I'm not walking in alignment with my purpose. And my purpose for me, I have identified, one is being an entrepreneur. Like that, when I wake up in the morning and I know my schedule, I know what it's going to be. If I have to change around my day and move things around, there's so much freedom in that. As a single mom, the freedom of schedule, there's nothing that compares to that. And yet so many people are slaves to jobs because of the fear that, oh, I'm not going to be able to make a living. I promise you, if you work for yourself, you're going to find a way. There's never, you're going to hustle to get what you want. There is no time off. I can go without sleep. What I'm not going to go without is housing for me and mine. So your purpose, you have to find your purpose before you start your journey to really hone what it is that you're doing and the opportunities. So many times we say yes to opportunities that aren't in alignment with our purpose. So once I identify my purpose, I've been given various opportunities, and I have, with so much of confidence, turned those opportunities down because it wasn't in alignment with my purpose. My purpose is to change people's lives. So I've had people say, oh, hey, you can make a whole lot of money doing this thing over here. And I'm but whose life is changed by that? They're like, well, yours, of course. I said, so how am I changing other people's lives? What does other people have to do with it? I'm like, it's not in alignment with my purpose. And people are like, what? So you're going to say no to making good money? Yeah, absolutely, if it's not in alignment with my purpose. Because to me, my purpose comes with money.
Get a round of applause for that. You know what?
Like a little spiritual music.
What? I'm going to give you a story real quick.
Get it.
I just did a live. And in that live, I talked about someone, a phone conversation I had. And in the conversation, the guy was saying, he had went to a workshop and they were talking about how to flip homes and they're going to make all this money. And he went into his first property and it was like totally not what was on the thing. Right. But again, going back to this conversation right here, like your purpose, like, so you can't see like online, like people trying to sell you all these things. Like, oh yeah, you want to make $1 million a year, start to flip homes and real estate and da-da-da-da. And then everybody just start like honing in on that when it's not their purpose in life. And not to discourage anyone, because you do want to do something that you love and make money at the same time. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's what I feel is being able to master your purpose. I know we're going outside of this, but to allude back to what you said earlier about when you teach someone to fish. And man, like all these conversations that we're having, it goes back to like conversations I've had over the last week. I promise you. I just had a conversation.
It's all interconnected. This is how you know.
Yes. Check
Hello,
this
universe.
out. I had a conversation with someone that, and said the exact same thing. Well, yeah, that's right, Joe, because if you give someone a fish, they can eat for a day. If you teach someone to fish, they can eat forever. But that's not true from my perspective, because if you teach someone to fish, they may not know the right area that they should be like to go and fish at. You can't go to a pond just because I know how to fish. I can't go to a pond where there's no fish in there and eat. So it goes back to mastering everything.
There's layers here.
Yes, see? Right,
that's what we talked about. We can stay on the surface or we can go beneath the surface. Dig deep.
Going beneath, because you should master whatever. Once you find your purpose, I believe once you find like your love and your passion and your purpose in life, master it. Master every aspect of it. Like, so if you're going to learn to fish, let me teach you about how to drive a boat. Because yeah, you could fish here, but if you learn how to drive a boat and get it over here, there's 2 times more fish over here. And if I'm going to teach you how to fish, let me teach you about the types of fish, where you understand what a bass is, what a trout is. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I love that about that. If you teach someone to fish and give someone
Feed
a
them for
fish,
a
but
day.
I feel that whatever it is, master every aspect of it.
Love that. Love that.
You talked about your kids, right? How do
Mm.
you balance your life? Like, with how many children do you have?
I have 4.
4 children. Wow. And you are a single mom. I was reading that.
Solo dolo.
How do you manage like raising children? Do you mind saying like the age of your children?
Yeah, 17, 15 are my girls, and my boys are 9 and 6.
Wow. So they're at that age where like you have to be highly engaged in their lives.
Ideally, let my daughters tell you I'm a helicopter mom. I don't let them do anything. They can't wait till they turn 18 so they can be free. And it's not that I don't give my kids freedom, but the little times look at me showing my lack of freedom. I've given them freedom, and that you give them in, they take them out. And I'm just like, I'm not impressed with what you're doing with social media. So as of right now, even my 17-year-old, she doesn't have a phone right now, and she's like, they think we're poor. We're not poor, but you make poor choices. So poor is relative. And you know, she's gonna be 18, and then when she's 18, she could do as she is an adult. If you want to buy a phone and you want to pay for your phone and things of that nature, that's your responsibility. But in this house right here, no ma'am. And
that's
so
good that you said that too, because and there's a lot of like single moms that's out there just by statistics, and being able to see the show and seeing a young woman with 4 children. Wow, like,
listen,
and got 2 master degrees.
you have to listen, people can be successful in their own right, and I don't want to discourage people like, well, she has a master's degree, of course she's able to provide for herself. You still have to go to school, right? These degrees weren't handed to me. This was in conjunction. If you do the ages of my kids, I was going to school throughout the process, and throw a little additional tidbit, and I was pregnant my senior year of high school. I was senior class president. So I'm in a position of leadership, and I got pregnant my senior year, but it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. And I like to think that this is coming in strong. She's coming strong around the 4th and counting down. So for me, it's like, I never wanted to put use my situation as like a hindrance or as oh, I'm a victim of my circumstances, woe is me. Like, that was never what I was going to allow myself to be. It's whatever you make it to be. If you got to take night classes, if you got to lose sleep, you know, that's what you got to do. Short term, one of the things, my mantra for life, short-term sacrifices, long-term gains. I'm going to say that again. Short-term sacrifices, long-term gains. Was I not physically present oftentimes during my daughter's formative years? Yes, this is true. But as I am right here, right now, I work from home. I make my own hours. If I need to pick up my kids or do things like that, I can make those arrangements. And I had to make those early sacrifices in order to put me in a position now. So when everything happened with my ex-husband, I didn't have to go back home to mom. I was able to stand right where I was at and move forward. And I tell people to imagine your life like a race. If you are going on the course of a race and you fall down in the middle of the race, too often people think, oh, I went back to the start. And often people have back to the start mentalities. And that's what keeps them constantly, behind. But when you look at yourself as you fall down in the middle of the race, you pick yourself up and you keep on going, guess what? I'm closer to the finish line than I am to the start. So why would I send myself back to the start? So yeah, I had my divorce, and that was difficult. My kids are in the background. You guys,
it's important that people could take that from you when, because I say the same thing all the time. You have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. Hey, did you get that done? Oh, well, I didn't get it done, Joe, because I had just got off work. And what time did you work today? Oh, well, I had work from 8 to 5. So you had to, but and then it's excuses. But you see the people that are most successful in life, they will sacrifice, not to bring up my family.
Yeah.
Not to bring up my family, but there was a trip planned to go to Disney World. And we had to make a sacrifice because of the business. We was hiring and like, well, We got people in place to train them, but like the company is our company. So we need to be present until like we have like a whole full staff of managers in place to make sure that everything goes as it should. But if we have to sacrifice that time to build out the company, then that's just sacrificing. And you have to explain that to the kids because the kids they've been hyped for months and like, oh, we getting ready to go to Disney World in a couple of months. You have to explain to them the why, because it may help them in the future to understand, hey, you know what? I want to do this, but I remember back when I was growing up and my parents sacrificed. And then they see where they are in life.
Yep. And I didn't have those examples. You know, I'm literally the one setting the stage for my own family. And I think that the misconception is that we have to always learn from like our elders. Truthfully, sometimes our elders learn from us. I bought my house last year. My parents are just now buying a house. They're currently in escrow. And they're asking me, so what did you do? And so you have to do your credit. And so now, because my mom would call me up, she's like, I bought a house. I was like, what, like you guys pay cash? What do you mean I bought a house? So you found a house and then you put an offer and they accepted it. Now you're in escrow. Got it. You're in the process.
You're in the process. Got you.
You're in the process. But being able to help her like through that, I'm like, oh, did you get your appraisal? She's like, oh, so you want to get your appraisal, your appraisal to make sure that your house is worth what they're selling it for, preferably more. And that she really recently got it back. Guess what? It was like $30,000 over. I'm like, that's wonderful. Like you're walking in with equity. Like that's a bet. Like, so being able to teach my parents that it's been very affirming. Even my mom went back to school because I went back to school. Wow. And I went to school and I was going to University of Phoenix. And I remember being able to work full time, attend one class in person a week. And then the rest of my studies were online. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, Mom, you should try University of Phoenix. It's this really, you're still able to work and go to school. My mom went through the program, got her associates, got her bachelor's, and then she went on to get her master's. Now my mom has a master's degree. So it's like, listen, we teach our family sometimes. Sometimes we have to be that example. So for me now as an entrepreneur, and I see certain attributes in my kids, I'm always trying to hone that. My 15-year-old, she has a nail business. I just recently got her a makeup artist certification because she's naturally gifted in like beauty and things like that. So I'm like, okay, well, watch your YouTube videos, market your business, which she goes on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. And she's been able to get a steady flow of clients. She does nails and now she's doing makeup. She's done my makeup on several occasions. And it's one of those things that I wish my mom would have, poured into me. I want to be an actress when I was, listen, I could act like lights, camera, action. I want to be an actress when I was younger, but my mom was like, oh, well, when you're older, but you've already missed my boat. So for me, if my daughter's like, Mom, I want to do makeup. Okay, bet. You ain't said nothing but a word. Let's go. Go to Mac, go to Morphe, whatever you want. Where's the makeup place? So for me, it's like you have to pour into like each one, teach one. When you know better, my Angela said, when you know better, you do better. And so for me, that's what I've been able to show, like through my actions and moving forward. Like I'm going to pour into my kids because I want to set them up for success, that whether they have a job or not, they're always going to be able to eat in some way, shape, or form. My oldest daughter is an artist, naturally gifted in portraits and painting and things like that. And so she sells her art on Facebook Marketplace. She's painted families, she's painted abstract things, and people pay her money. So she's always going to be able to make money as an artist. That's a God-given talent. My other daughter, she's always going to be able to make money doing beauty stuff. People are always going with their nails done, want their makeup done. So I'm just trying to figure out what my boys want to do, because listen, we're about to have a business around here. Okay.
There you go. A whole enterprise. I mean, a whole enterprise.
Enterprise. Exactly. Everybody's making money.
So if there was one thing, one tip, one final advice that you were able to give to the viewers that they could take this piece of information and put it into their life and get ready to start their journey, what would that advice be?
It doesn't matter when you start, but start. Too often people, they wait till something's perfect. They have the perfect this is in place. You're already wasting time trying to perfect those things. I get it. A strong presentation, you want to come in, like go big or go home. But what happens is sometimes you have to at least just get the momentum going. And little by little, you're going to build on top of that. When I first opened my doors from my counseling practice, I was subleasing from a commercial office building. So I didn't have an actual office. I would pay the company a certain amount of money, like $300 a month for 5 days for use of different offices for 5 days. And so I didn't really have like a set place, but nevertheless, that was what allowed me to start building up my clientele. And I went from 5 days to 10 days. And before I knew it, I had enough clientele to pay for my own office. And then once I had enough clientele to pay for my own office, then, now I work from home, but I also have my commercial office. Should I decide to see people back in person again? I'm sure the government eventually will require it. But for now, counseling is allowed to be done online. And it's been really great to just, every time my kids come home, I'm here. And even then, my office is like 10 minutes away. So I do have that option, and it's a tax write-off. People don't understand the benefit. I love tax write-off. What? How much is this office? Ding, 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 tax write-off. I was able to write off so much last year. I got money coming back. I made good money last year. Let me just tell you. I hit my first little six figures. I don't want to put too much about my business, but it's funny. You get out of grad school and you're like, man, I can't wait to make 50. And then you make 50, you're like, man, this ain't nothing. How this doesn't go far enough. Then you make 60. You're like, I don't know why I thought 60 was like the threshold. Then you're like, man, let me see what 6 figures, just to be able to I made 6 figures. So you make 6 figures. Now I'm like, I want to be a millionaire.
And then you have to keep going. You keep going. I love that.
I already hit this one. I'm like, man, what can I do? Like, let me listen. You think if I make 500, $500,000, I'm gonna be mad? No. But at this point, I'm like, man, I got the mighty set. Let's see what else I can turn to gold. So, sky's the limit. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you start. Just start.
There you go. So if someone was interested in contacting you, how would they find you? Like through social media, or how would they find you?
Yeah. So you're going to hit me up at shanikashow@gmail.com for any inquiries, business, speaking engagements, that sort of thing. Shanika Show. Yeah. Shanikashow@gmail.com. That's my handle on all my social media. So Shanika Show. If you want to look for Facebook, I'm Shanika Show. If you want to look for YouTube, I'm Shanika Show. If you want to look for Instagram, I'm Shanika_show.
The Shanika Show everywhere.
listen, I'm a brand. I'm a walking brand.
A brand, so, that's right. It's a brand. That's right. That's how we should be.
Absolutely.
But this was wonderful. I truly appreciate your time. Absolutely. And we are going to get ready to wrap it up and bring in that music, the music that you were dancing to earlier too.
I'm dancing now because I'm hey.
There you go. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Shanika, thank you again. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This was wonderful. I hope that you were able to take a lot from it. And you heard what she said, just start, right? You know what you need to do, just start. And if you don't know what you need to do, then you need to consult with the expert and professional to help you. If you love the show, put it down in the comment section, #YMANATION. Put your comments, your questions, your feedback. Make sure you like and subscribe. And down in the description, you'll also see that YMA Nation song, Let's Go. So if you haven't heard Let's Go yet, make sure you click on that link down in the description. Let's go. Guys, thank you again so much. And we will see you on Wednesday, Real Estate Wednesday. You guys have a
with the bosses view. You gotta sacrifice. You wanna move like bosses move.
YMA, Young Millionaires Association. Yeah, see, that's the association. Joe.